Hi friends, my name is Angela and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to share with you some of my favourite winter reads. These are some books that I have read. There's a couple in here that I want to read this winter, but I know they have real winter vibes. The winter solstice is coming up here in Australia on June 21st, so we are in the thick of it right now. It is a little bit of a challenge choosing wintry books to read right now in Australia in June, because a lot of wintry books are from the Northern Hemisphere, which also includes Christmas. So it does feel a little bit, it can be a little bit hard to find just books about winter, not necessarily about Christmas and winter. I personally don't have an issue reading about Christmas in June, but it's something that I'm aware of, and so I've tried to choose some books that don't necessarily tie in with Christmas entirely as well. First of all, one of the books I'm reading at the moment, which I don't think you'd say it's a winter book, but the cover is most definitely some winter vibes, is Antarctica from Claire Keegan. It's a selection of short stories, and I'm only a short way through at the moment, but man, is it gripping. It is so gripping. I'm really, really enjoying this one. If you haven't yet picked it up, I would recommend it, and I think it'll fit into those winter vibes. So one of the first books that I'd recommend for winter reading is Midwinter Murder from Agatha Christie. You really can't go past a good thriller mystery novel that is set in winter, I think. They really do lend themselves to it. You know, that closeted room with a fireplace and it's dimly lit, and I think it fits in perfectly. So this is one from a selection. There's a collection of 4 Agatha Christie short story books which are set around the season. So there is a spring, summer, autumn and winter. It's really quite a lovely edition, and this is the summary on the back. Deadly snowdrifts and dangerous gifts, poisoned meals and mysterious guests. This new compendium of seasonal short stories featuring some of Agatha Christie's most famous detectives is perfect for reading in front of a crackling fire when the days are growing shorter and there's a chill in the air and murder is never far away. So this is most definitely a great book for some winter reading, and I'm looking forward to diving in this pretty soon. The next one I recommend is Wintering from Catherine May. I read this a couple of years ago when it first came out, and I really do want to reread it. It is such a quiet and comforting book in a way, even though she is dealing with some really interesting personal issues, and it is a non-fiction book, and it's about wintering in our lives. So the idea is that there are difficult times in our lives when it is essential to retreat and to winter, to allow yourself those moments to, whether it's to grieve or to mourn or to digest whatever it is that's happening, so then you can come forth in the spring. It is beautifully written. It's quite relatable, very thoughtful. I really enjoyed Catherine May's writing, her style of writing. And I fully believe that we do, we have to live seasonally. We can't always live in summer. It's just not sustainable. And so this was a really, really good book. I recommend that, especially for winter. It's really, really very fitting. And I do love, one of the elements of this book was that Catherine May explores winter traditions and cultures, whether it's in Scandinavia or in different cultures. And it's quite interesting to see what people do and how they treat themselves in those winter months. So that's a definite winter read. The next one I'd recommend is The Snow Child from Eowyn Ivey. I read this a number of years ago. I managed to get this beautiful hard copy. I don't know how I found it. It's a beautiful winter read. It's historical fiction. It is magical realism. It's a lovely little book, and it was published in 2012. And the story itself is taken from a Russian fairy tale. And so there is this magical realism, a little bit of fantasy in there. But it's set in 1920. There's a couple who are pioneering essentially in Alaska. They've made their new home there. They're going through the loss of, they lost a baby a number of years ago. And then this is how the story is set up. The evening the first snow falls, their mood unaccountably changes. In a moment of tenderness, the two are surprised to find themselves building a snowman, or rather a snow girl together. The next morning, all trace of her has disappeared, and Jack can't quite shake the notion that he glimpsed a small figure, a child, running through the spruce trees in the dawn light. It's a really beautiful little book, and I would definitely recommend this one for winter. I believe it was a debut novel as well, if I'm not mistaken. The next one I'd recommend for winter, personally, is A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I feel this is a winter read because quite a lot of the story is set around those winter months. If you haven't yet read A Little Princess, I would recommend it. It was a beautiful read. I really did enjoy reading it. I don't know if I had read it as a child, but I had most definitely watched the movie adaptations. If you're not familiar with the story of A Little Princess, it's about a young girl named Sarah who is, in her father's mind or her father's eye, his little princess. She has everything she could possibly want in the world. And he sends her to a boarding school while he goes abroad for work. And she makes new friends. She is so imaginative, telling stories, which wins her new friends. But then she receives news that her father has passed. But then she receives news that her father has passed away, and everything is taken away from her, all of her toys and her belongings, and she is now a servant in this boarding school, and she is working from dawn till midnight. And she continues to have that faith, that imagination, and turning something that is bad into something that could be better. And I really did enjoy this, and I would recommend this for a winter read. It's really quite uplifting and heartwarming, especially towards the end. I did enjoy it. The next book I'd recommend for winter reading is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is, of course, this starts at Christmas, but I feel like it is such a comforting read, and it's something that you do want to dive back into in those winter months. So Little Women, I would highly recommend this as a winter read. I did love this little edition I got, which I think is a vintage Collins Classics. And I actually only read this for the first time maybe 2 Christmases ago, so it's still fairly a fresh read for me, even though if I had to choose a favourite movie, it would most definitely be the Winona Ryder, Susan Sarandon, Kirsten Dunst movie. I did like the Greta Gerwig one, but that Winona Ryder will be Joe for me always. So I would highly recommend Little Women as a winter read. Another great winter read is Claire Keegan's Small Things Like These. This is set in those few days just before Christmas. It is really evocative, and you really do get placed in that location. It's really, Claire Keegan's writing is just so wonderful. This book is set in 1985. It's a beautiful little novella, and it follows Bill, who is a coal merchant, in the lead up to Christmas as he does his deliveries and they're getting ready for Christmas itself. He himself, his mother was unmarried when he was born, and he uncovers some secrets of the local church, and it's actually something that's really in our history of the way the church treated unwed mothers, girls that didn't have any prospects. And it's such a beautiful, really, really beautiful book with such a what is a really dark piece of Irish history. There's a lot of hope in this book, and my understanding is it's currently being turned into a movie with Cillian Murphy. So that will be a really, really quiet, haunting movie to watch, and I'm looking forward to it. Another book I'd recommend in winter is another children's book called The Long Winter by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I don't actually have a hard copy of it. I've only listened to I've only listened to the Little House on the Prairie books on audio. And I really do want to get a hard copy, but I listen to the books at least once a year, and The Long Winter is really, really great. So if you haven't yet read a Laura Ingalls Wilder, I wouldn't say it's a popular series in Australia, but I would recommend it. It's so easy to listen to, and I think it's Cherry Jones who does the narration on the ones I listen to, and she did it so, so well. So I would definitely recommend that as a winter read. The next book I would recommend, which is going to be my first read this winter, is Mrs. Mike by Benedict and Nancy Friedman, which the subtitle is A Classic Saga of Love and Courage in the Canadian Wilderness. I love these. I love books about pioneering and going to new frontiers, and Canada and Alaska, these sort of ones really do it. So this one I think it's been around for a while. I managed to find it on World of Books. It was originally published in 1947, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one. So it follows the story of a young girl named Catherine May O'Fallon, and she arrives in Calgary, Alberta from Boston. She's fallen in love with Mike Flanagan, who is a Mountie, a Canadian Mountie, and they start to make their life in this new frontier. And I think it's going to have some When Calls the Heart kind of vibes about it, but I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And as you can see, it is a really wintry kind of read. The next book I would recommend is an Australian book by Jane Harper called Force of Nature. This is the second of 3 books in a series about Aaron Falk, who's a federal police agent. And this second one, Force of Nature, is set, I want to say the New South Wales Highlands. It's in the Girralang Ranges. This book starts with a number of people that they're ready to go for this team building exercise, this hike through the mountains. 5 women go into this particular exercise and only 4 return. 1 woman is missing. And that particular woman has been working with Aaron Falk and his partner as a whistleblower for the company she's working with. So her disappearing brings him into it in that way. And it's really a chilling read. There's a lot of suspense. I recommend this one definitely as a winter read. Just the location itself is cold and desolate, and you can just feel it coming off the pages. So I would recommend that one too. So that was my selection of winter reads I would recommend. I would love to hear if you have any others. There are so many out there. It was quite a challenge to pick some books that were wintry without being Christmassy. So if you have any recommendations like that, I would love to hear them. That would be great. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again next week. Bye.